every time the business grows, like you get to promote yourself, right? And you try to stay clear about what really am I right now? Like, I'm really not a president, right? I'm really just a mid-level manager, or I'm part-time mid-level manager, part-time general manager, and be realistic on what you actually are. And don't get your head big about thinking you're awesome when you're not. But every time you level up, it's a completely new set of skills that is required to be good at your job. Right now, the fact that I'm a 5th generation master plumber only benefits me in the fact that my team takes pride in that the guy at the top isn't a paper pusher. That's the only thing that it helps me with.
What's up, guys? Welcome into another episode of the Cutting Up Podcast. Today we have my friend and the owner, founder of Tennessee Standard Plumbing, Kelton Balka. How we doing, my man?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and get started. Same as always.
Yes, sir.
Switch anything up?
Know what it is.
Yes, sir. We've done it a ton. So good to have you in this, man. In today, man. How we feeling? Doing all right?
Yeah. It's Monday. Always comes with some curveballs, but we're taking them one at a time.
Awesome. So you are the owner of Tennessee Standard Plumbing. What got you into plumbing? How'd you get started?
Well, I started plumbing when I was about 13 years old. I'm a 5th generation master plumber. The plumbers were on my mother's side of the family. So my uncle and my grandfather each had plumbing businesses, and I got to grow up working in those businesses during summers and making really, really good summer money as a kid, and ended up getting my plumbing license with the state of Tennessee when I was only 18 years old, which is the youngest age that we did it. So plumbing kind of chose well.
Nice. And you always knew? At what point did you know, like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Maybe not exactly, doing the plumbing, but being in the plumbing industry and having a plumbing business company.
Well, it's funny. You would think with being 5th generation in the plumbing industry that my family would be all in on it, but the people in my family who were actually plumbers said, hey, you don't want to stay in the plumbing industry. There's no money in this. They said, you want to go get like a corporate job or be in banking or something like that. That's where the money is. And so I actually had my family pushing me away from being in plumbing. And so I went to college and majored in finance because I also do love numbers and I love business. And it was about halfway through, so it was probably the start of my junior year that I started taking, my more business specific classes, and I started viewing those classes through the lens of like a plumbing company. And I started realizing, oh my goodness, this isn't just, a job like that, like these plumbing businesses, like this is a real business. My family had like 1 or 2 truck operations. It was very small mom and pop shop type stuff. I started realizing like, no, this is a real business. And my father had always coached me and said that if you can find a place where you are really niched in, like you have maybe multiple skills that intersect that not a lot of other people would have, that's where you're going to make the best money. And it was really about halfway through college where I was like, I love business and I love plumbing too, and I want to combine the two. And that is where I really got locked in on, this is what I'm going to do.
That's awesome, man. And that kind of ties in with what I'm doing here. And obviously we've had lots of talks about this over the years and kind of getting to this point. But as most people that have been watching and following my journey, Dad's a barber, grew up in it, you know what I mean? And been around it for a super long time, and I've always done it on the side. But I didn't know until, a few years ago that it was going to be something I was going to do long term. I wanted to do something business wise or something in that aspect, but I never thought about, okay, am I actually going to be in the barbering industry my whole life? You know what I mean? And so, but getting to that point where you kind of see those two worlds collide, where it's like, no, you know, you start to kind of craft this business plan and business idea with what you already are good at. You already have the skill, the passion behind it, and you can make those two things mix. And I think that's the greatest combination that you can have. You know what I mean? So we've taught, you know, you're going into your junior year, you said was kind of, or in your junior year of college was kind of the time where you started to really think about it. You come back home to Tennessee, you graduate from college down there in Florida, you come back home and you jump right in, right? You start working with your uncle, and anyone that knows your story, knows me for sure, knows that there was a period where we actually worked together. This is kind of where I meet Kelton. I didn't know Kelton growing up, but he comes back, he starts working for his uncle. He's, you know, it's trying to help it to grow. And this is where, insert Jonas, I come along. How did that happen from your side of things?
I graduated with my degree in finance, and I jumped right into the family plumbing business, right? Which was like a 1.5 truck operation at the time, had been for a decade. And, you know, probably grossing in sales about $300,000 a year. So I jumped into it, and my uncle gave me control of basically accounting and finance, systems and processes, recruiting and marketing. But I still had to run 8 to 10 hours worth of service calls a day. So just for the sake of building something, and I was paid a very low salary, a lot less than I would make if I was just a plumber in another shop. But I wanted to build something, right? So I would get up very early, run my calls, and then get back, and I would grind until probably 10 o'clock at night on average, getting the books in order.
Well, and early is an understatement too, because I would show up between like 6:45 and 7, and you have already been there for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Now, you had the privilege of living on property, so you'd wake up at 5 in the morning, walk over there, knock a bunch of stuff out before you could go to your service calls, because I'd show up at 7 with a laundry list of things that I had to do, and I'm like, dude, when did you get here? Like, you had to be here at 4 in the morning, you know, and then putting in the midnight hours as well.
There was just so much stuff that wasn't in place. And so, and I wasn't married. I was dating Josie at the time. We weren't engaged when we were still operating out of my uncle's garage. And I lived next door to his. So, I was just cashing in every second that I had, trying to figure out, how does this work? How do we make money at this? How do we make this profitable? How do we scale this up? And I really was just blessed with an opportunity to be able to figure out things on his dime. You know, got to make some mistakes in marketing. He really just kind of let me run with whatever I wanted to, and you know, recruit and learn how to manage people. And I wasn't very good at it at first, but just keep hustling, and I was willing to put in as much time and effort as necessary. So in 2.5 years, we took it from about a $300,000 a year shop to 1.2 million. The year that I left, we did 1.2 million. It's 4 trucks. We had maybe 8 to 10 team members at that point. And the reason that we parted ways was just because I wanted to run the shop in a way that my uncle had another way that he wanted to run it, and I felt like it was wrong of me to just push for the way that I wanted things to be done, and because it was his shop, you know, it's his shop. So we parted ways peacefully. He was very gracious to me in the exit, and I tried to carry myself in a way that showed integrity, and try to leave on good terms. And it was a little bit awkward at first, but we're on great terms today. You know, what's very interesting is he was never able to get his business over the hump to where it actually had systems and process and management. But since I left, he was able to take that base that I built and continue running with it and grow it at least 3 or 4 times bigger than it was when I left. But he struggled with the amount of blood and guts that it takes to get something from 0 to an actual, okay, this looks somewhat like a business. Like to go from, when you start a business, it's just a job. Right. Like you just have a job and you have to do everything. And then you can turn it into a business. And it was at the foundational stages of it is now a business when I left, right? And so parted ways and started to Sustainer Plumbing and Drain Experts.
So going off of that, would you say that it's pretty fair to say that had you and Brian, your uncle, stayed together, you probably never would have made it as far as each of you have made it, kind of going your separate ways, right? Do you feel that way now, looking back on it? Like you guys were both kind of holding each other back from
100%.
2 different styles. You guys run your companies a lot different these days, just from the conversations that we've had, and branching off, going your separate ways. You've been more successful than you ever probably would have been together.
We probably had 3 or 4 times the market share than if we had stayed on the same team. And it was just because we were tugging in different directions. You know, he's at a different stage of his life, had 4 or 5 kids that were older. I didn't even have kids. I was grinding, and his way that he wanted to do things was not wrong. And my way was not wrong. It was just that it fit our personalities. So then we split ways, and Plumbing Authority, his company exploded, and my company became the fastest growing home services and a company in Knoxville very, very quickly.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. I think about that a lot.
That's insane to look back on, man. So a couple of things I want to take from that before we move forward into Tennessee and where you're at today is, first off, how hard was that for you, obviously with it being your uncle separating? Like how hard was that battle to actually make the decision that even though you knew what was right and you knew, or you had the feelings that long-term you both would benefit from the split up, how hard was that to actually make that decision, knowing that family was tied in and you had put so many years of overtime and extra hours, poured your heart and soul into this company, and you were really going to just walk away? You know what I mean? With no residuals, no nothing. You were just walking away, clean slate. How tough was that for you? And how long did you battle before you actually made that decision?
It was very, very difficult to walk away, because I really, when I got out of school and committed to helping his company grow, I really saw myself as Team Plumbing Authority for forever. I had helped rebrand the company as Plumbing Authority. Like I came up with the idea to go back to that name, which is the name they had operated on when they were in Florida, like a decade prior. But the thing that got me, quote unquote, over the hump was really the stress that I was taking home into my marriage, because Josie and I got married, and we were married by the time that I parted ways with his company. And there was so much stress from tugging in different directions that I felt I could not go on. It was going to be unhealthy for the things that were more important in my life, which was going to be my marriage, my family. And that was really the thing that pushed me over the edge. I had a lot of people early on be like, "Oh, you left. Oh, you want to be your own boss, huh?" Or like, "Oh, you just want to make more money," or some of the stereotypical things that we think of when people go to start their own gig. And that was not it at all. For me, I cringed when people said that, because I knew what I was getting myself into. When you start your own business, you're signing up for more work. You're signing up for answering to everyone. The boss answers to everybody. Like, he's responsible for everything that goes down there. It's not that, oh, you get to go have some great work-life balance or something like that. Like, you're responsible for feeding mouths. You're responsible for people's livelihood. And that is a huge amount of pressure to bear when it's small and you're wearing every single hat. In all the grind phase that I had just gone through with his company, I now had the joy of getting to do all over again. And there's something that I was not looking forward to at all, but I felt like there was no other way forward than that.
So give some advice for some people watching that, they may be, obviously they're not going to be, most people aren't in the same situation where there's family ties mixed in, but they may be at a job or, pursuing something, but they're working for someone else and they want to do something either in the same industry or something different on their own. They want to make that leap to become their own boss, to start their own business, but they're not sure how to prepare to get to that point. So can you give any advice or any tips on what you were doing in the meantime while maybe you were still working at PA, Plumbing Authority, but you were starting to lay the foundation groundwork? What would you say for someone for that transition? Because it is going to be tough. Like you said, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be just a ton of money and all glamorous right at the start. It is hard work to start the business. What is some advice you can give somebody in that position where they want to make that transition, they're looking to make that step, but what's the way to make it? It's never going to be seamless, but to make it maybe a little bit easier on them. Do you have any advice for those people?
Well, this is something I'm actually really, really passionate about. I have a little bit of a problem with the self-help experts and the business gurus who just say, just do it, just make the jump, just, take the plunge. I understand what they're trying to do is get people who are hesitant and really are well prepared to make that leap. But for myself, I was so well prepared because of the experiences that I had had. So although I was only 24 years old, I had been plumbing since I was 13 years old. I was just shy of getting my master plumbing license. I had gotten a degree in finance. I had been running in the same direction for an entire decade, right? And so the number one thing, if there's a ton of uncertainty around it, it may be because you don't have a really well-written plan in place. You need a well-written plan, and the process of creating a plan is going to show you the areas that you need to get some answers before you just take the cold plunge, right? So, like you with this barbershop, you've been cutting hair since you were probably similar age as when I started plumbing. You learned the skills really, really young. And once you got the skill out of the way, like once you got to where you were subconscious on the skill, then your journey could actually start unlearning a completely different set of skills, which is the skills required to actually turn that into a business, right? Mm-hmm. So like if I'm talking to a kid in high school or something, my recommendation for them is get really, really, really good at a marketable skill. Get amazing at it. And that can be in any field. It can be in blue collar stuff. It can be cutting hair. It can be digital. It can be creative. It can be anything, but get really, really, really good at it. Because then you'll have the option to decide on whether you want to actually start learning the skills to turn that into a business. It's a completely different set of skills, right? But the trade skill or the actual marketable skill, that's your foundation. So there's people out there that are really, really, really good at a skill. And if you just say, hey, I'm the best at doing this specific thing, I'm going to go out on my own and try it. Sometimes that can be what they call an entrepreneurial seizure. You might not be, if you think that having that skill is the only thing necessary for actually running a business based off of that skill, you're wrong. It's a completely different set of skills. There's recruiting and marketing and finance and accounting and all the other things, right? Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of people that really could take that leap. And so what you got to do is you've got to try to quantify all the pieces that you are missing. If you can quantify those, then wherever you're plugged in now, you can start trying to get your bearings straight on what it would take to actually make the leap and be decent at those things until you can get to a certain point where you can hire out some of those things, but you're still going to need to manage people that are doing those. Like don't start a company and have absolutely zero idea of what's involved with accounting, because you're still going to have to manage your accountant. You're still going to have to tell your CPA what you're looking for, what you need, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot, if there's a ton of fear associated with it, I don't think you should just make the cold plunge. You should identify what the things are that's creating fear surrounding this, and you should start educating yourself. You should start reading books, listening to podcasts, and educating yourself, because then once you have all the pieces in place, it's interesting, like starting Tennessee Standard was on paper a huge risk. I actually never felt the risk because I had a rock solid game plan where I knew even if I couldn't grow the company, I knew that I could do way better than break even just running a truck myself and booking the calls and doing the accounting for it. I knew I had all those pieces, thanks in large part to the fact that my uncle allowed me to cut my teeth per se on the business aspect of it. On his dime, his risk, I was able to understand all aspects of the business at a small level, so that when I actually took the cold plunge, and I made that jump and that leap of faith, I really had a rock solid, proven game plan in place. It wasn't that I just, pulled it out of nowhere and started running. I was as prepared as you can possibly be to take that next step.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I think it's, momentum and passion, all those things are great, but at some point you're going to hit a hard day, right? And if you're not prepared for that, what are you going to do? You can, like you said, the people that just say, oh, just jump in, just go at it and just make it work. You know what I mean? It's like, well, that's great, for the first couple months, and you can have a little bit of just momentum going into it and be excited, have some motivation for a couple of days. But what about that day when you wake up and things aren't the way they're supposed to be, or you're sitting in the barbershop and there's two heads that come in the whole day and you're just like, man, what's going on? Yeah. I mean, if you don't have a plan for those things, then it's going to die pretty quickly. And that's where a lot of small businesses or a lot of side, hustles that people have fall off, and they never become what they could become, is because they don't have the plan. They haven't done that research. They're just going off of a whim, off of an idea that they have, and they haven't actually done the research and put in the time to do it. And that's one thing that I think I'm thankful for my time, working with you and getting to have some of that time, was you introduced me to Audible. You introduced me to these different things. You're like, hey, listen to this book, listen to this marketing tips. You know what I mean? And you were giving me all this information, even at the time when I was still at PA working plumbing, where I was, I was going to use some of that, but didn't even realize how much of that was going to come into play years later when I was opening up the barbershop. You know what I mean? And I think that's very important too, is it's like, who are you surrounding yourself with? Put yourself around people that are going to motivate you and encourage you to do the right things. As far as if you want to create a business, put yourself around business owners, put yourself around people that have done it. You're one of the first people I called when I started going to barber school. We went up, you took time out of your day to go to Starbucks with me. We sat down, you opened up Excel, and you helped me, do some of the foundational things here. And I think so important to put yourself in circle with people that have done it before, because that's the best advice you're going to get. You know what I mean? It doesn't get any better than someone that's been in the grind, been doing those things. So Tennessee Standard today, where are we at? How many trucks do we have?
Today we're running 10 crews and about to have 2 more on the road. I've already got the people, and the trucks are just getting wrapped and shelved. So 25 employees, and this is we are in year 4. So we've been in business for 3 years.
That's insane. And did you have goals in your head when you started the company about, okay, by year 3, 4, 5, these are the sales numbers, or these are the trucks that we were want to be doing? And where are you compared to some of those goals that you had?
So I'm a big believer in setting goals, but I try to keep my goals focused on what the next step is. Okay. Because I've found that if I set a 5-year goal, it's so disconnected from where I'm actually going to be and what I'm going to be feeling in 5 years from then, right? Because your environment changes. So I really try to keep my goals short. I try to, or more closely attainable in terms of time. I honestly did not even know if I was going to be able to be out of a truck by now. I thought that, in 3 years, maybe I'll be in the office. And now I'm working on being only being general manager and even having a service manager role, having someone else in that position. But what I'm a huge believer in is when you're starting a new business, you have to make sure that even though you're wearing a ton of hats and you're responsible for the day-to-day grind, you've got to not pillow your head without having made forward progress on the business. So when I was in a truck with Tennessee Standard, I'd go work a long day, work 12 hours out there, selling work, doing work, and then I would come back and after I got my daughter or daughters in bed, put them down for the night, I whip that computer out and I would just keep going. Because if I hadn't done something to take a step forward with the business and the systems and the processes associated with the business, all I had was a job, right? Mm-hmm. And when you start something, all you have is a job. You just have a really high maintenance job and you want to turn that into a business. And for me, the secret is just taking a step forward on the high level every single day. And then that just starts to build momentum and compound over time. So I had hoped that within 3 to 5 years, I could be out of a truck. And that's about as lofty as the goal was at that point. I just wanted to do the things that would give me the most options when I finally got to a good place down the road, right? Mm-hmm. And so we set goals for every year. And then we just break them down into small, manageable chunks, and then we just crush those as fast as we can.
Yeah.
And when you do that, the days feel slow, man, but the years go fast, and you're able to get way farther, way faster than you ever thought you could. And so my goals, you also want to keep goals SMART, right? Which specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. And if you can just set goals consistently, like we have, me and Bobby is my right-hand guy, right? He's my administrative director. So we sit down and we have, what is our company's top 3 objectives? And then we break those down into small components, and our days consist of as much as we possibly can. We have to put out fires every day. We have to do the mundane. We have to work through all of our smaller stuff. But every day we just try to rush as many steps toward those top 3. And the moment we knock one off, we replace it. And we just keep going and going and going like that. And that's been a big secret to success, because we never come in and are just like, hey, the fires are all put out. It's always put out the fires, and the moment you have the fires put out, just grind on whatever those forward progress things are. And so therefore the work is never done, and we're just always have something out in front of us that we're hustling for. And we try to attach carrots to those things for ourselves and for the team members around us and our direct reports. So we just keep everybody just hustling, churning on it. And it's been working well.
So as you've grown and you said, your role started to change, you're out of the truck completely, you're shifting from, service manager, general manager to hopefully just general manager. How has that been, kind of delegating all those tasks that you were doing? Because it's your baby, you know what I mean? When you started, like you said, it was just you, it was just Bobby. You were doing it all, from actually doing the plumbing to doing everything paperwork and everything GM role would have.
Yeah.
And now you're bringing in people to take those things. How tough is that for that transition for you to hand over those things? Obviously, you're still overseeing on a day-to-day basis, but you're giving other people control of your baby. How tough has that been? And what are some tips you have for that?
It is certainly challenging. You can't get to the next level without delegating things. And you also feel sometimes wrongly that you can do certain things in your business better than anyone else can, But then what you find is there's really only a couple things you can do better than anyone else, right? And so you gotta be realistic with yourself on that. And so you force yourself to hand things off because it's the only way to the next step. Every time you level up in your business and you move from ground level employee to team lead to mid-level manager to general manager, because that's like every time the business grows, like you get to promote yourself, right? And you try to stay clear about what really am I right now? Like, I'm really not a president, right? I'm really just a mid-level manager, or I'm part-time mid-level manager, part-time general manager, and be realistic on what you actually are. And don't get your head big about thinking you're awesome when you're not. But every time you level up, it's a completely new set of skills that is required to be good at your job. Right now, the fact that I'm a 5th generation master plumber only benefits me in the fact that my team takes pride and that the guy at the top isn't a paper pusher. That's the only thing that it helps me with. Those skills, those plumbing skills, are very quickly becoming obsolete, which is kind of depressing to say because you had to have it to get to the point that you're at, and now it doesn't matter, right? And so as aggressively as I pursued understanding skills and educating myself when I was just at the very, very, bottom, the ground floor, I'm just absorbing information as fast as I possibly can from podcasts, from audiobooks. I'm a huge Audible guy. To be able to acquire the skills to be good at my job now. Because I was a great master plumber, right? But I'm a pretty sucky general manager, and I'd love to be a great general manager. So it's just completely new set of skills. As fast as the company is growing, you've got to grow and stay out ahead of it and realize that every time you level up, you suck all over again. And you've got to get better at the stage that you're at. The second thing with delegating and handing off is that you don't just find, when you have a problem, you don't just throw money and people at it, right? Rarely do you get a great outcome. Especially I'm delegating ground level and mid-level management things right now, right? Yep. So my sweet spot is that I'm a businessman and I'm a master plumber. That is still a sweet spot. So you have to document your systems and processes. The best software that I found for this is called Trainual. It's like training and manual combined. It's called Trainual. It's unbelievable. And you have to put hundreds and hundreds of hours into writing down what you do, how you do it, and why. Right? And then what happens is Dave Ramsey just came out with a book called Delegation. And it teaches you don't just hand somebody the keys to the kingdom and walk away. You find someone to do the things that you need to delegate. And if you haven't documented the systems and processes for how you do that specific job, then there's step one. You have to do that. Then you bring them in and you say, all right, watch me do this. And then you say, okay, now you do it and I'm going to watch you do it. And this is over a period of weeks or months, right? Mm-hmm. And then you say, okay, now I'm going to let you do it and I'm just going to monitor these KPIs. And then eventually, because you were spread thin when you were in that position and that's just their position, they find even better ways to do it and then they take the process from there, right? But when I'm spread too thin, I need to hire a person. So you hire a person and then you're like, man, they suck at this. I was way better at it. I guess I just can't trust people. I guess if you want something done right, do it yourself, right? And we tell ourselves these lies, but actually we just suck at delegating. We suck at being a general manager. We suck at all those different things. And that's where I'm at right now, is really learning really documenting things thoroughly, and then training, and then managing to the KPIs, the key performance indicators, and the key metrics that person is going to be judged off of, because they need clarity for their role, right?
Yep.
So when you see it as that deep of a process, you can break it down and you can take it one step at a time. And now I've got some positions in my company, like some of the positions that Bobby takes lead on. And then my new install manager, Dustin, he's 10 years older than me and has a way more time in management than I do. They're better at things than I am, right? But we started with the foundation, we built the trust, then I get to let go and not micromanage, and they get to take it farther than I ever did. And that's how you build a high performing team.
That's good, man. So
I've still got a lot to learn on that, but that's where I'm at right now.
Dude, we could do this all day, man. And I'm wrapping up the haircut here. So I do want a couple more things to touch on real quick through this journey, through 3 years. And you may not have one specific time, but if you could think of something, let's get your toughest moment starting the business. What's been the toughest thing so far that you've had to go through, whether it was something early or something that you maybe didn't expect and it was later on down the line, but give us your toughest moments to starting the business. And then your greatest, something that gave you the most joy, where you felt, obviously, I don't know if satisfied is the word, because you're always reaching for something new, you know what I mean? You're always moving forward. But what that was like, man, I'm doing it. This is a good thing. This is great. I'm excited. Greatest moment from starting your company, toughest moment. Do you have them?
So toughest moment is definitely when you invest a ton of time into a person and then they leave.
Yeah.
And you suffer with the turnover. That will teach you more about yourself than anything else. That's extremely challenging. And that has absolutely been probably my toughest moment of being in business, because it sends things into a bit of a tailspin if that was a key manager, which in my situation it was. And then you say, man, am I wasting my time pouring into people like this? But you're not. The investment in people is it will pan out, even though some people are going to determine that being on your team is not the best for them and for their future. And you have to be okay with that. So you have to emotionally protect yourself from it, but you got to keep investing in people. That's been the absolute toughest thing, is when I have invested in people and we had to part ways. And also just firing people. I hate that. And I generally let things go way too long before I fire people. And I think that's the right side of things to err on, but it is tough. And so those two things I think fall into the same category. Those have been the toughest moments for me in business. The best moments really are watching people come on board that have very little skill, and watching through your systems, process, and training, watching them succeed at a very high level, and really just go from making nothing to making a ton of money. And then the company benefiting accordingly. Yeah. That is honestly the most rewarding. I'm setting a goal to pick a certain number of years, whether it's 10 years or 15 years, to have a certain number of millionaires inside my company, inside Tennessee. I want Tennessee Standard to be a millionaire creator, right? Because it's possible, and I want my team to buy into that vision and see that long term. And when they think long term like that, they do better, right? And we do better. And when I see people making a ton of money and succeeding at the highest level because of the grinding and the hard work that I've put in over the years, that lets me know I'm doing something right. And that is the most rewarding thing.
That's great, man. I would say this too, from working with you for a few years and knowing you for a while now. I think one of your greatest gifts is being able to take people that either, doing something they've never done before and bringing, and you see potential in people that maybe they don't even see in themselves. You know what I mean? I think that could be said for me and a lot of the guys, especially that when I came in and on board back then, that you were bringing on board were a lot of people that didn't have a ton of experience or that didn't necessarily succeed, and being able to say, look, man, we can get this out of you, and work it and grind it, and really taking that on yourself as like a project, and just saying, I'm going to get this out of this person. I'm going to turn this person into this. And even if they don't believe in it, even if they don't even necessarily want it for themselves at the moment, you could see it and you could know, man, that later on down the line, they're going to be happy that they had this. You know what I mean? And I can speak from experience, and the other guys that I saw around. Now at this point, you're bringing on guys that are uber talented, been in the industry forever, that you don't even have to, necessarily put that in them because they've already done it, but even taking them to the next level and reaching heights that they never did. So that's awesome, man. I think that's that truly is one of the best things in the business. And I only have a couple guys here that I've had working with me, but just to see them grow and see them be able to do things for themselves is even more rewarding than doing it for yourself, you know? So that's awesome, man. That's super exciting, dude. I can do this all day. We're gonna have to get you back in here for a second episode. I want to show you this haircut though before we get out of here, because that is why you came in today. Make sure it all looks good for you real quick, man.
So much better.
Better than.
Thank you.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's what we're going for.
You nailed it,
my man. So
Usual.
Tennessee Standard Plumbing, you can find them obviously here in Knoxville. They're on just about every street corner. You'll see a billboard. You'll even see half of his head in a couple of them there getting sprayed down with the water there. But anyone that lives in Knoxville has seen the billboards, has heard of you guys, man. You're doing big things. I honestly, I wouldn't even have said, and I worked with you for a few years, but to me at this point, every time you come in, every couple of weeks, you come in to get a haircut and you update me, and it's just like, dude, that's awesome, man. So I appreciate you having you as a friend / mentor, and you coming in today, man. You guys can where can they find you on social medias? Give them a little plug here.
They can find Tennessee Standard on Facebook.
Okay.
And then myself, Kelton Balka on Instagram and or Facebook.
Awesome. Give them a follow. I promise you won't regret it. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you next time. Like, share, subscribe. Peace out.